Greetings. My name is Meyer David. I'm an actor, or more properly, I was an actor. You probably saw me up on the silver screen and didn't know it. I looked old even when I was young, and by the time I was 40, I was clearly washed up in pictures. I had to keep moving forward with a whole life ahead of me. Since I knew something about the movies, I decided to go back to school and study film. I took a deep breath, and after a few rejections, I was admitted to the What's More College Film Studies program. What a breath of fresh air, studying the great film auteurs. I reveled in it, couldn't get enough. Before I knew it, it was time for me to write my doctoral thesis. I spent weeks thinking about it, and finally I had an inspiration. Sword and sandal films, as they used to call them. Historical or mythological epics with casts of thousands, mostly from the 50s and 60s and mostly from Italy. I had seen Ben-Hur, of course, with its famous chariot race, but there were dozens more, probably scores, nay, maybe even hundreds, that didn't make much of a splash. But they were ground out anyway, starring low-budget musclemen and B-list starlets year after year.
I shall do anything to make amends, noble master.
And soon I stumbled upon the work of Hobart Palfrey.
Help me then find the Egyptian dog.
Who, you may ask? Bart, as he was known to his friends, was the star-struck scion of a family that was big in Midwestern soft drink bottling. He took his pile of money and ran. To Italy, as it turned out, where he set up shop and bankrolled a goodly number of mostly forgettable films. She-Ra with Ursula Andress, The Horror of Circus Maximus, Den of Thebes, introducing that poor fool Rex Driscoll. I tracked down all of those, but there was one that seemed to have gotten lost. Phlebos of the Nile, the debut for the great Troy Endicott. But then, a breakthrough, a handwritten note on an old script. Phlebos of the Nile did still exist, probably in a back room somewhere at Cinecittà, the enormous studio called the Hollywood of Italy. The following week, I was on a flight to Rome. Ah, Rome, I had wanted to visit for years. I wandered around a lot, imagined what it looked like back in the ancient times. I never made a picture at Cinecittà, though I knew lots of people who did. Before I got down to work, I reveled in the beauty and vitality of the city. And then I presented myself with my duly translated letter of introduction from the film program at the front desk, and I was in. I slaved away many hours a day for a week before I found myself in a certain extremely cluttered back room. And there, under an audio cue sheet, a couple of clearly labeled film cans, the Holy Grail. They set me up with an old moviola, and I was on my way. On my way to what? What the hell was this stuff? Dailies of pretty dancing girls? And an occasional shot of Troy Endicott? And what about that music? High school students doing their first recording session? What in God's name was I going to do with this crap? How was I going to make my reputation by resurrecting a piece of shit that deserved to stay buried? I could have left the film in the cans, but then I got a eureka moment. I checked the cans out at the front desk with my letter, and a couple of days later I was back in the USA.